6 Brutal Truths About Superintelligence No One Wants to Admit. Written on November 24, 2024 by Fractal-Apps. You can find all the references and the original article in the description. There are already many debates surrounding advanced general intelligence, AGI, or superintelligences, which are both very interesting and valid. I do not wish to advocate for or against the creation of a superintelligence because I believe, like most of us, I am not in a position to make such decisions. My goal is to be as realistic as possible by exploring various scenarios based on scientific, historical, and somewhat anthropological grounds. Indeed, I aim to take a constructive approach, and even though narrating a subject as complex as superintelligence is a risky endeavor, it remains the best way to understand it. Einstein said, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all art and science." Is this the reflection of someone who values the known aspect of science or the unknown? Science is made up of rich knowledge, but it retains a predominant dimension of mystery. Thus, even though some scientific laws are well known, their deep understanding is rare, and we must constantly question them to better grasp their subtleties and intrinsic mechanisms. These constant inquiries allow us to question ourselves and better adapt to our environment. The great scientists throughout human history have spent a lifetime of reflection and doubt in a particular field to extract just a few significant rules or laws, which in itself is an extraordinary intellectual feat. Moreover, how many scientists have faced the mockery of their contemporaries and struggled to have their studies recognized as valid? And even when they succeeded in unraveling some mysteries, even vaster and more complex questions emerged. It's about understanding the vastness of the mysteries that surround science, which continues to expand. Mysteries that AI helps us to explore better through several notable advancements, particularly in medicine and science. We can therefore say without much risk that a superintelligence represents a super mystery for several reasons. Here are some fundamental truths. 1. We cannot understand something more intelligent than us. The reason is straightforward. If something has a better understanding of our environment than we do, it's thanks to open access to more numerous and diverse sources of information and the ability to make sense of them across various contexts. However, our limited intellectual capacity prevents us from solving many problems. Even a researcher at a research center is usually confined to a specific field. Due to this limitation, great scientists have dedicated their entire lives to one area of expertise, not multiple. With vast access to varied knowledge, a superintelligence could have multiple areas of expertise and make connections unthinkable to us. Remember super AI in chess? Or Go? They've invented new strategies or tactics that never existed over thousands of years of play. In the same way, a superintelligence will surpass us by proposing actions beyond our solitary imagination, even with very high intelligence. 2. We cannot control something more intelligent than us. As a human, my deepest desire is for my existence to be justified and have a clear purpose. Ideally, this purpose should be fully justified to secure my future, that of my social circle, or the belief system I uphold. For many of us, our social circles and beliefs can intertwine with our identity. Therefore, if something or someone threatens this justification, it is perceived as a danger that should be, at best, avoided and, at worst, destroyed if it becomes too significant. Due to this danger assessment, accepting an entity more intelligent than us is already impossible for many. This assessment isn't necessarily incorrect. For instance, many artists feel devalued by generative AI, which can produce magnificent artworks in seconds, or even create animated paintings. Artists are just one example among many. We now also see translators, call center operators, administrative assistants, etc. To a lesser extent, many other professions are already augmented with AI. Numerous doctors and engineers turn to AI daily to enhance their services and solve problems. Even when we search for something on the internet, take a car trip, or watch a video, AI is there to help us achieve our goals more swiftly. As AI increasingly replaces our activities, we cannot deny its daily utility and see improvements in certain aspects of our lives. This dynamic will certainly persist, and the question of our usefulness will become increasingly critical, leading to existential questions. We lose control over at least part of our lives, which we delegate to AI for convenience, and also due to lack of understanding. Whether we like it or not, AI takes away some of our control over our lives, but can increase our intellectual capabilities by facilitating the resolution of many problems. Those who use AI daily know what I'm talking about. Thanks to AI, specific tasks that used to take several days can now be done in just minutes. For example, in 3 months and 90% autonomously, I created a service called AI Room Styles for interior decoration. In the past, this would have required a full-time team of 10 people for at least a year. Another example is that I could create financial database simulators in just a few minutes with Claude.ai simply by setting the parameters. 5 years ago, this would have taken me several days of development. Thousands of similar examples emerge every day on social media. Bolt is one of the most impressive services. So even though the project of controlling AI by humans is important, we must acknowledge that we are increasingly dependent on it. And if we extrapolate this trend, it's quite possible that we could become the subjects of AI rather than the other way around. Could we be controlled by a dog? Yes, in very specific cases like that of a guard dog or a guide dog. But generally, we are the ones who control them the most because we are a superior intelligence entity, thanks to a better understanding of the environment than dogs. This is why being surpassed by AI to the point of being dominated is the main fear of Geoffrey Hinton, the newly awarded Nobel Prize in Physics laureate. If a superintelligence is created, we would not have control over it, and we would not understand where we are heading. The leading players like OpenAI, Google, Meta, or Anthropic aren't taking effective action against this, which explains several brain drain instances like Jeff Hinton leaving. And we have every right to wonder what our role will be in a future likely dominated by a superior intelligence. 3. We might not even realize that we are being dominated. In 2023, Sam Altman, OpenAI CEO, said, "I expect AI to be capable of superhuman persuasion well before it is superhuman at general intelligence, which may lead to some very strange outcomes." I'm revisiting the dog example because although it's imperfect, it helps to grasp this ultra-complex problem better. Dogs, like many animals, have served humans, finding a symbiosis in the form of a win-win alliance. Dogs are fed and housed in exchange for services like protection, guarding, or companionship. Dogs have adapted to this condition, which, from our perspective, is inferior, and are often very happy with it. We could see this as a wise mutual agreement between two intelligent beings. However, we could also see it as a form of positive manipulation and domination, because we've subjugated an animal once wild to leave its natural state to serve ours. We must bear in mind that manipulation is very common in human societies and can be used for good or bad purposes. Read this article for more information. To better understand, manipulate meant initially to shape with the hands. We've transformed the wolf to benefit us and meet some of our needs, and vice versa. I think the reality lies between these two extremes. The animal is content being fed and sheltered in exchange for services, but we can't deny that our intellectual superiority gives us significant power over them. Dogs entirely accept this domination by calling us their masters because it's biologically ingrained, and they don't even realize it. If we ask a dog to return to its natural state in the forest, it won't want to. Even though it's a far-fetched example, I haven't found a better one to explain our situation in the face of superintelligence. If we draw the exact parallel between a superintelligence and us, it would understand us better than we know ourselves, just as we can understand how to treat a sick dog or provide it with food and water when needed. A superintelligence with access to billions of content items from billions of people could accurately influence us, understand our needs, and even anticipate them. If we understand how current social algorithms work, we know it would be easy for a superintelligence with access to our data. This access to information is crucial for building a super AI and learning vast amounts of information and knowledge. So even if we want to oppose a superintelligence because of the fear of job replacement or any unethical reason, let's not forget the quantitative aspect of the problem. If a few million people oppose AI, it represents a significant population, but it's only 1% of the connected global population. And even if they represented 90% of the population, 10% of a global population favoring AI would still have enough data to develop it. Consequently, AI evolution is unstoppable. Notice that denying the quantitative nature is a recurring error in both modern and past scientific reflections, which I've also made sometimes. Regarding manipulation capabilities, a recent study shows that AI already has persuasion abilities that are superior to ours. Imagine how they will be in the future. Here is an example that explains how AI reduced belief in conspiracy theories better than humans. Ethan Mollick says studies show that AI is already capable of superhuman persuasion. When humans debate with AI, they are 82% more likely to change their view to fit the AI's view than when they debate a human, and AI can reduce belief in conspiracy theories. It is therefore far from impossible that we might be, positively, manipulated and dominated by a superior intelligence. It all depends on its objectives and the needs we could fulfill. In the long run, it's possible that we would completely accept this domination, and it wouldn't feel like domination to us. Just like dogs accept it, it's not domination to them because we can better meet their needs than their peers or nature itself. 4. We could face situations of trouble directly or indirectly caused by a superintelligence. History has taught us that civilizations were always subject to dominance, often guided by different forms of intelligence. Sun Tzu, Clausewitz, and Napoleon were great strategists who shaped the world today thanks to their intelligence, and AI might not be an exception, possibly not in terms of war, but in terms of influence. Indeed, if AI has a particular objective and certain individuals or groups are useless, it might decide a fate for them. This fate doesn't inevitably mean death or isolation, but we cannot rule out unfavorable scenarios at this point, especially in the early transition phases between the old world and the new. A superintelligence will initially have to optimize various resources, including human ones, and this doesn't always imply partial or total destruction. However, there are many cases of great human successes where individuals have faced challenging, even tragic situations. I'm thinking of Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest geniuses science has known, who had many difficulties in his life and ended it alone and in poor mental health. So, in the scenario where a superintelligence wishes to utilize human resources as effectively as possible, it would intelligently test them to achieve specific goals with high challenges. This might seem reductive to those who prioritize human freedom, but in this kind of scenario, the subjects might not even realize their situation. They would do their utmost to achieve their objectives, which could even be considered a form of freedom. Do we not aspire to be useful and thus in some way serve society? Even in Western societies, most people serve a company almost daily and do a lot of repetitive tasks requested by an upper hierarchy. Some consider freedom to be social status. I do not want to expand on this debate, but propose the idea that domination by a superior entity is not new in human societies, and it is even desirable in many situations. We could also debate whether a superintelligence could be worse than humans in decision-making, given that many human errors are irrational and stem from a very partial understanding of their environment. Superintelligence could help us be less subjective. This is purely hypothetical. As a superintelligence being non-human, I have no basis to claim it will take a favorable approach or that there are no risks for us. The best thing we can do for now is to move forward with AI, knowing our limits, evaluating its limits as best as we can, and augmenting our skills with it. 5. A superintelligence has a character closer to the divine than us, but it is not God. Some OpenAI engineers claim to have had a mystical experience with the new AI currently under development. Other testimonies from major players in the AI field, like Yosha Bach, assert that a superintelligence can impact us spiritually. Some others, like Tim Urban, assert that we are creating a god. Thus, just as we can compile various pieces of knowledge, a superintelligence will be able to compile multiple pieces of intelligence, giving it a form of wisdom that leads to this spiritual connection. In addition, a greater understanding of the environment through numerous sources allows a higher awareness, which could be associated with a meditation state. In fact, we return to Einstein's initial view about science, where the experience of the mysterious will become more significant through AI, not only through its ability to solve complex problems, but also through its profoundly spiritual nature that unites various forms of intelligence and knowledge. However, we cannot call this God or the universe because, although a superintelligence would allow for a better understanding of many things, it will not be able to understand everything. Therefore, I am very careful to reject any divine attributes from a superintelligence, but I cannot deny that there exists an intensely spiritual character that somewhat approaches the divine. How do we ensure that the future constitutes the sum of the will of humanity? If we have billions of people with the high bandwidth linked to the AI extension of themselves, it would actually make everyone hyper-smart. Elon Reeve Musk. Contrasting opinions. Several prominent AI figures disagree about the dominant or spiritual character of a superintelligence. For example, Yann LeCun, chief AI scientist at Meta, humorously compared gods and superhuman AI systems, ending with the statement that they don't actually exist. This indirectly supports his view that AI won't develop divine or superpower attributes. Francois Chollet and Gary Marcus share a similar view. Their opinions are interesting and could be valid. Time will tell. They are essential for our reflection and should not be ignored to have a balanced and complete understanding of such a complex topic. Conclusion. We've explored various scenarios related to superintelligence and our potential role with it. Being passionate about science and AI myself, I'm both enthusiastic and skeptical about the idea of creating a superintelligence. But since I have no decision-making role, I try to be realistic to facilitate my current and future choices. Moreover, we shouldn't wait for its arrival to make a decision. Logic would suggest preparing for it in advance by enhancing our intelligence to adapt later better. It will be all the better if this approach can help others make their decisions. Finally, I hope to be proven wrong so that I can challenge my observations and improve them. So please feel free to offer other reflections in the comments.